Welcome you all to another episode of Eating While Broke. I'm your host, Colleen Witt, and today we have Earn Your Leisure in the building. I'm super excited about this. When you get a financial advisor, Rashad, Bilal, and educator, Troy Millings, together, they deliver assets over liabilities, no pun intended, of course. When it comes to behind-the-scenes financial views in entertainment, sports, and entrepreneurship, you need to look no further than Earn Your Leisure events, podcasts, and university. Welcome, y'all. We are super excited to have y'all today.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay. So today on this episode, we have two dishes. So at the end of this episode, I'm going to see which one did it better. Troy, why don't you start us off and tell us what you're making and the ingredients?
Yeah, so today I'm going to be making a pizza bagel, not to be confused with pizza toast, a little bit thinner on the bread. And so, I got my bagel here. I have some tomato sauce. Obviously, we have to have that. Some mozzarella cheese, and to add some flavor, we've got oregano, some basil, and of course a little pinch of garlic.
Okay, that sounds like it's gonna be really nice on flavoring. It feels like borderline professional pizza restaurant-ish.
Yeah, we take our pizza bagel serious at my house.
And Rashad, what about you?
Tuna sandwich. We got wheat bread, whole wheat bread, tuna, mayonnaise, ketchup, and chips.
And chips. Okay.
So, it's an interesting combination. I can explain it if you want, or we can explain it later, but how this all came about, it's up to you, however you want to.
Yeah, well, if you want, we'll have Troy start us off with making the pizza.
Okay.
And then while he's starting off making the pizza, I guess I just have to ask you, when did ketchup and tuna make a marriage?
Yeah, well, ketchup is one of these things that I use with everything. And it's perfect blend. Like, when I eat fish, I usually put ketchup, fried fish, ketchup, and hot sauce.
Okay.
Or if I'm doing this, I'll do this. Or other thing I do with fish sometimes is ketchup and tartar sauce. But ketchup and mayonnaise is actually French dressing.
Thousand Island.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's French dressing.
I call it the Big Mac.
Yeah, I think it's French. It's
I think it's Thousand
No,
Island.
it's Thousand Island.
I think it's French.
Is
Definitely not French.
No, I'm not even
French
hanging
is my
on you.
favorite
You
sauce.
want to Google it?
I know it because
I actually did Google it.
I think it's Thousand Island.
I'm like almost 100%.
Okay, you know what? While he puts it in the oven, we'll Google whether it's French or Thousand Island.
But it already makes something. It's already something.
Yeah.
So it's actually a good combination, and then it's not the normal taste that you would have for tuna. So it kind of gives it a little, special edge to it. And then the chips just add just puts it over the top.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Troy, why don't you go ahead and start us off on the pizza bagel?
The pizza bagel.
Pizza
so
bagel.
The bagel is important.
Okay.
And because when I was younger, my mom used to make pizza all the time. And so she had dough. And when I was home by myself, sometimes I'm like, I want to make pizza. So I had to find anything I could use as my bread. And so the white bread was too soft for the tomato sauce, so that didn't work. And then tried to use English muffins, and they were too small. I was hungry after, so I said, I'm gonna go with the bagel. And so we start with the bagel, obviously. You gotta slice it, it's been sliced nicely. And then the first thing we're gonna put on top of it is the tomato sauce. And so we got the tomato sauce here, we got our spoon. And the spoon is important because you wanna spread this tomato sauce out evenly, all right? So I take a scoop of the tomato sauce, put it on the bread, all right?
Now, at no point did you ever say, you know what, today I'm going to have it on an everything bagel, or was it always plain?
You know what, I never tried it on, always plain,
Okay.
right? I was trying to make it as close to my mom's pizza as possible. And the only bagel she bought was plain or cinnamon raisin.
Okay.
So cinnamon raisin pizza probably wouldn't have been great.
You never tried it?
Never
desperate enough to try
We
it?
don't put raisins in things in the Jamaican household. I know
and that's the other thing I'm a little confused because you're Jamaican,
Yeah.
and I don't think I've ever seen my mom make a pizza.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Like, I've never
This is
seen my
true.
mom make a pizza. So
She was great at making pizza. My mom's a great cook.
Mm-hmm.
She makes a lot of things. Her pizza was one of those things like my friends would come over and eat it. It was so good. And so
Okay.
I was like, all right, if I can't have hers, I'll have to make my own. And so I didn't have dough, so I used the bagel, like I said. And so you see how we've evenly spread this out?
Yeah.
You see how good this looks?
yeah,
All right, so now
it looks like a bloody bagel.
exactly. And so this is important now. Now that we've got the tomato sauce
Mm-hmm.
consistently spread throughout, now we're gonna add some flavor. We're gonna put a little oregano, right? Just a pinch of
Oh,
it, just a little
Put
pinch.
it above the tomato sauce.
Above the tomato sauce,
Okay,
because
got
I'm gonna show you why. I'm gonna show you why in a sec. So we put a little bit here, a little bit there, right? We don't want to flood it out the flavor of the tomato sauce. A little basil, sprinkle that. I should do it like Salt Bay and just drop it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
I mean, this looks restaurant. Okay.
And then I'm gonna get another fresh spoon for my garlic.
Okay.
A lot of people put garlic on top of their pizza after. I like to throw it inside the sauce so to add a little bit of flavor. So you don't really need it, all right? So we get a little pinch here. This is fresh garlic. We're gonna spread this out. Yeah, this is fresh. This is fresh. This is fresh. This smells good. Yeah, this smells good already.
But you said you usually mix it in the sauce.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna do it now
Okay.
for time purposes. So it's gonna get smudged in all
Okay.
in here.
Okay.
Right now, imagine doing this like on an English muffin. Like I couldn't do this on white bread. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, you smell that? Can y'all smell
Okay.
that? for
Yeah,
me?
it smells good. I'm hungry.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
about to eat the
All right,
mozzarella cheese plate.
So now we got our sauces, we got our flavor,
Mm-hmm.
and now, like I said, shredded cheese is important. When I was growing up, that was my job in the house. My mom was like, she was making macaroni and cheese,
Mm-hmm.
Troy shred the cheese. If she's making pizza, Troy shred the cheese. And now my wife, same thing. Anytime she's making something, ziti, lasagna, my job is to shred the cheese. And so I kind of like the bagel part because when you splash the cheese on, it's important that it goes all over the bagel, right? You got to spread it all over. But when it starts to go in the toaster oven, that cheese melts and it goes inside of the hole in the
Okay.
bagel. And so now it adds even more of a crisp
So you
taste to it.
followed the whole circle.
Follow
in the
the
bagel.
circle.
Okay,
Follow
okay.
the circle. Follow
Okay,
the
okay.
circle.
Okay.
Follow the circle. Let it drip. And when it melts, the cheese will be inside of the hole in the bagel. And now it adds for a crisp taste to it.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm going to prepare a couple more.
Okay, yeah. While you prepare that. Ooh, okay. Now you saw his presentation. What you bringing to the table?
I gotta make this now?
Yeah,
I
Rashad.
need to toast the bread. Is that
Oh,
fine?
you need to toast.
Can I toast
Okay,
it?
yeah, we can throw the commercial. Throw the commercial on that one. So now, Rashad,
Yes. Yes,
your
Sirski.
turn. Challenger 2.
Yes, Sirski. So, all right, so we're gonna start with the bread.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna put the bread in the toaster. It's real easy. You literally just place it in, push it down. I usually put it like halfway through, so it's like the highest is 7, so I got it on 4 because you don't want it to be burnt, but you don't want it to be too light either. So you just gotta wait for the magic to happen. Patience is a virtue.
So when I make tuna sandwiches, I mix the mayo with the tuna. I
Okay.
see on this sandwich, how are you going to prepare?
I'm just gonna put it on, especially at that time, I wasn't really, that's probably the proper way to do it, but you're just scrambling, so I don't really have time to like Chef Boyardee it. So I just put it on top. I put it on top and just rock out like a sauce.
Oh, okay.
a
So this
sauce.
is definitely going to be different.
Yeah.
When was
sure.
the last time you ate this?
Oh man, it's been a minute. I eat tuna. I still eat tuna from time to time. But like me actually making it like this, I probably make it like a couple times a year, to be honest. Like, when I'm just feeling nostalgic, when I'm at home and I don't have nothing else to eat. But I don't eat it that often, how I used to.
So seeing this is considered your broke dish, what was going on at the time when you were eating this for more than nostalgic and
Yeah.
once in a while?
I was in college, so I used to go to the University of Hawaii, and I played basketball. So I was on scholarship. But how the scholarship worked is that instead of like being on a meal plan, I opted to just get the money for the meal plan.
Oh, okay.
So that was like probably like $2,000, $2,500 a semester. And so long story short, I had to use that $2,500 to buy food. That was my meal plan. But of course, you're in college, so you're using that for more than just food. Using that to go to the club, using that to, just do whatever you wanted to do. So buy clothes. So I probably had like 500 out of that 2,500 to spend on food. And I never cooked. I was never, somebody that grew up cooking my whole life. So I'm living by myself in an apartment in Hawaii.
Oh, you weren't even living on campus?
Nah, I had an apartment.
Okay.
So I had an off-campus apartment. So it's like out of necessity, I felt like tuna fish and peanut butter and jelly, those are like the two easiest meals to make.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a culinary degree to make that. So I just made it, and then every single day for lunch, literally for a year, I would make tuna. That was my lunch every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you say Hawaii.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people hit you with this all the time. You already know what I'm gonna mention Barack somewhere in here.
Oh, I wasn't going there, but okay. Shout out to Barack.
Shout outs to Barack. And you guys actually did you guys do something with him?
Not yet.
Not
Soon
yet.
come, soon come, soon come.
Not yet.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Well, actually, I gotta tell you a story about that.
Oh, well, you can say it right here on Eating While Broke. You ain't gotta
Breaking
say
news
it.
alert.
Yeah. Say it here, please.
All right, so am I gonna be making this?
Yeah, go ahead, make it. So you
All
got
right, so
got
now
the
I'm
bread
actually putting the tuna fish on the bread.
Mm-hmm.
Very important part to make a sandwich. I probably should have did this the other way on this bread.
It's been a minute, man. Be kind to yourself.
So we putting the tuna, and like I said, this is one of these things you literally can make in 5 minutes. That's another reason why I was making it, because being a college student, you don't have a lot of time. You on the go, so it's something that you can actually make in 5 minutes. Like, he's making a whole gourmet dish. I ain't have time.
I
for
mean,
that.
he's making a
least
whole
I saw.
gourmet dish. I feel like the crew's gonna be upset if they don't get to eat some of that.
I made enough for everybody.
And
Oh,
then,
look
we
at that.
put the mayonnaise. Put the mayonnaise on.
Oh, you put a lot. Okay, cool. He put a lot. Everybody that's listening.
Put the ketchup on. Ketchup and mayonnaise.
Okay.
French dressing. We just learned.
Oh yeah, we did Google it,
You know what I'm
everybody.
saying? This is bringing back memories, actually. And then potato chips. I didn't do this all the time, but this was something that was when I was like really, really feeling the vibe. This is
You wanted
something.
to spoil yourself?
Yeah.
He was like, today I'm gonna live a little large. Let's get those chips
A
on
little
there.
dangerous today.
You put the chips
Okay.
over the.
Add a
over-
little crunch to it.
Add a crunch to it for sure.
Okay.
And this is just like slice out of heaven.
Okay.
Slice out of heaven. And daily. I did this every day for 1 year. For 2 years,
Wow.
actually.
So, it seems to me that you were always financially conscious because you
wasn't-
knew to maximize your dollars,
It
or
wasn't
what?
really done out of financial literacy. It was just done out of, I can't cook, and I like tuna fish. I always liked tuna fish, and it was just an easy meal to make. So I'm like,
But you
all right.
took the food credit money instead of the food credit, right?
Yeah.
So why did you do
well,
that?
it's school food, so it's not like they got the best food anyway.
Okay.
And I mean, would you take, if you're 19 years old, somebody gave you $3,000 for a semester, would you take that, or would you take going to the dining room?
I would take the money.
Exactly. So it's like an easy
What'd you
decision.
do with the money though?
Yeah, that was my I was living off of it.
Okay, got it,
So like
got
I said,
You
I'm doing-
maximized it.
Yeah, whatever we
You
need.
turned it into an asset.
Whatever I needed to do, that was like my salary.
Okay. Okay.
You
I
play
like
ball, so you can't really work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I ain't work. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was my salary. That was money that we just had just to kind of do whatever we wanted to.
Okay. Okay. Now you're gonna pop those beautiful babies into the oven,
Let's do it.
and then you can go ahead and finish chefing it up.
Very important that the oven is preheated. So we got to hit at 350. I got my mittens. Y'all didn't prompt me, but I saw them here. Gotta have this. I learned this in home ec class. So I hated school lunch. I think we both had that in common. I don't think we ever ate school lunch. And so I took every cooking class in high school that I could, so that would be my lunch for the day. And so this is like.
Oh, you got to eat every time.
Yeah.
Slick.
Yeah.
Slick.
Yeah.
So, growing up, you said there was a lot of pizza in your house.
Not a lot. I mean, it's one of the things. my
Oh, a
mom
lot.
did.
One
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
things.
Yep.
So take me back to the time where you're sitting there like, mom's not home. What's going on? You're making these pizza bagels. What's going on in that environment?
Yeah, so my brothers are much older than me. My oldest brother is 10 years older than me. My other brother was in high school while I was in middle school, and he was in middle school when I was in elementary school. So I always came home before everybody. My parents were working, and so I was just one of those things. I'm like, I'm hungry. I hate, like I said, I've hated school lunch my entire life. So in elementary school, I'm not eating school lunch.
Yeah.
I'm the kid that's like, my parents gave me money for lunch. I'm putting that in my pocket. Or I'm buying your Dipsy Doodles off you for 50 cents.
Okay,
And they gave me
okay.
$3 every day. So I'm like, all right, I'll buy those for 50 cents.
I'm surprised your mom was making your lunches.
Nah. They was working. They were out. They actually left the house before I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
so I was like younger, but like I was walking to the bus stop. I was coming home before everybody, and so it was like, all right, well, I'm hungry. What am I gonna make? There's no food that they didn't trust me warming stuff up in the stove. So many times you could eat like toast when you came home or chips. So I was like, all right, I know how to make this. I know we got tomato sauce. I know how to grate the cheese. All right, let's just throw it on some bread and make it happen. And so as I got better with it, I started going in the spice cabinet like, all right, what can we put on it? Like,
Yeah.
and so like that's where I started putting the oregano, basil, putting garlic. I used to put the red pepper flakes on it.
Ooh.
Cause I was just like, all right.
Okay. You was really trying to
Yeah, I'm just trying to
copy the
figure
real
it out.
deal.
I'm just trying to figure it out because I'm just like, all right, I'm hungry. I got to make something. And that became one of those things. And so I started making that. And then when she would come home, she was like, you ate? I'm like, yeah, I ate already. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we have you guys years later. One decides financial advisor, another decides educator.
Can I put this down?
Yes,
Or leave
you
it up?
can.
Put it, I think it was fork drop.
How does that develop, Troy, to go into financial advisory, right?
Well, Rashad's
Yeah,
financial.
Rashad,
Yeah,
yeah.
he went. I was into
education,
education.
yeah.
Yeah. So when I was 15, I got a job at a camp in our community center, and so I've been working with kids pretty much since I was 15. It was something that just came natural to me, and I went to school. I remember I told my dad I wanted to be a masseuse. I was like, my hands are great. I got good hands. My dad was like, I ain't paying for you to go to school to be no masseuse. So I was like, damn, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go into physical therapy because I also had a love for sports, like obsessive love for sports. And so I knew I was gonna go on an athletic scholarship. Like I was kind of recreational when it came to sports. And so I went to school. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do physical therapy. But I started taking these science classes. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I realized really quickly, like, this may not be the route for me. I had an intern when I was in high school as a physical therapist intern for 6 months. I was like, this is the most boring job ever. Like, I'm falling asleep at my internship. I'm like, I can't do this. So I was, everybody battles with that. Like, what am I going to do? I'm in college now. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so I started thinking, like, I have a natural gift for working with kids. I still love sports. And so I started teaching phys ed. So
Okay.
I could blend the two. Yeah, because the two just came together. And so I was teaching phys ed and health education in the Bronx, in New York City. And I would watch my colleagues, the English teacher, the math teacher, social science, and I'm just like, yeah, this stuff is cool, but the kids weren't grasping it. They weren't really interested. Obviously, when you're not interested, you see behavioral issues.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, they loved coming to my class, though. They loved health because I was talking about the issues that they were facing. So I was like, look, we need to teach them about things that they can learn about. And so we had this opportunity to have this internship program in the summer at the same community center that I was working at as 15. And I was like, we need to treat this 6 weeks of the summer like the 10 months of school that they didn't get. So let's teach them everything that we can that they didn't learn in school. One of those topics was financial literacy. And so at the time when I started the program, he was starting his financial advising career. I'm like, I got this idea, we should teach financial literacy. I want you to be the face of it. You should come in and teach.
How did you guys meet, though?
We went to middle school together. We went to grew up together.
Oh, so you guys grew up
Yeah.
together?
We was like best friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, he's always like, why'd you go back to school? Why you go back to school? I'm like, I like working with kids.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, I'll do it. He was like kind of reluctant to do it. I'm like, yeah, they need to learn this, and like you could be the face of it since you're starting this. And so we started that, and they were learning other things like how to write a resume, how to interview, all these, like, who teaches you that? Nobody, right?
Nobody.
They
And
just throw you out
so
there.
essential, yeah.
Exactly. And so financial literacy, I was like, this is essential because we were going to pay them at the end of the program. Like based on their performance in the program, when they went to their internships, how they performed in the classroom, we paid them money. And so I was like, we're going to give them and pay them money that they obviously earned. Let's teach them about the value of money. Let's teach them how to save it, spend it, share it, invest it. And so that's how it really started. And we were teaching, I would write the lessons, he would teach it. And then he started writing his own lessons, and then I was learning from him. And so he learned how classroom management, lesson planning. I learned about finance. And so like now we're bouncing off each other. Like I'm learning from him, he's learning from me, in our respective fields. And it kind of grew from there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, why do you think financial literacy, and I think I have an idea to the answer to this question, but why do you think financial literacy still isn't taught in schools?
That's a great question. It's kind of interesting, right? When we think about it, we're all going to school to get a career that does what? Pay us money.
Pay us money,
But
yeah.
nobody tells us about the money.
No.
And so I just had to, when I sat down and thought about it, I'm like, if I ever told you how to be responsible financially, if I ever taught you how to be an entrepreneur, who would be my worker?
An employee, right? Yeah.
Right? Who would be the employees? And so if we're thinking from the economic standpoint, like I need certain people to be employees. I need certain people to be managers, and I need people to work. And so if I taught everybody to be an entrepreneur, who would be doing the work? And so I always look at the school system and the Industrial Revolution in the same light, right? Like the Industrial Revolution was to create jobs in the communities that they were in, right? Everybody came in at the same time. Everybody left at the same time. Everybody had lunch at the same time. And there were bells to tell you your shifts. And so if you think about school, it's designed pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
You walk in at the same time. You hear the bell. You go to your first period, second period, third. So it's the same system, right? The Industrial Revolution was to create jobs. School is designed to create workers.
So I was thinking that the reason why, and I hope your pizza toast isn't burning.
No, it's good. It's good. We're gonna leave.
But,
I'm actually. Can I put it on for a little longer?
Yeah.
Because I need the cheese has to have a little bit of brown in it.
Go for it. Do
Yeah.
your thing. So I felt that in Rashad, you could stop me if you, or I'm curious to hear your opinion on this. I always felt like the reason why schools didn't teach financial literacy was because, yes, the school system is really training you to work for somebody, but I think that student loans are the only things that can't be removed from credit report, or one of the only things. I think there's two other things that,
That happened so 1976, that happened.
Yeah. And so I feel like to put kids through school, and then after school, what do? You sign them up for student loans, right? So I feel like the reason why financial literacy isn't taught in schools is because right after they get out of school, they're kind of exposed to, for lack of a better word, I feel premeditated predatory. I feel like it could potentially fall into premeditated predatory lending.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of different reasons why financial literacy is not taught in school. But if you look at like major institutions, they haven't really pushed for financial literacy to be taught in school. And, people make money off of people's ignorance. So it's like, as a credit card company, you wouldn't necessarily want your people to be extremely educated on how credit actually works, because that's going to hurt your business. Like credit cards wouldn't make money if every single person paid off their credit card every single month. There's no balance.
Yeah.
They make money off of interest
Yeah.
for people that don't pay it off, right? So that goes back to lack of financial understanding, literacy, and not fully knowing the system and how it actually works. So it's in their best interest to keep that system going. It's working.
Yeah.
So why would they go out of their way to advocate, to educate people, to try to hurt their bottom line, hurt their revenue?
Yeah.
And that's across the board. I mean, if you look at Wall Street makes a lot of money from uneducated people, or people that just blindly trust whoever they're investing with. It's not really in their best interest to have people educated. And that's every single industry. I could just, go down the whole real estate, everything. So I just feel that, it's one of these things that has never been pushed. And we have something that's already in place where it's like, okay, this is math, reading, science, the core curriculum. And, people just are reluctant to change. And we just kind of accept things as they are because it's the norm. It's been that way for a long time, and we don't really question it. Like, why are we still learning about astrology? That might not be the best use of our time. Or like dissecting a frog might not be the best use of our time.
No, not at all.
If we're not going to be a surgeon or study biology in college, which very few people do, financial literacy should probably be core curriculum, and that stuff can be an elective.
So why did you choose financial advisory?
Well, I never had a real job. Like, I always wanted to be in business my whole life, and I knew I could never work for anybody. I didn't really have the temperament to actually, conform to a regular type of job. So at the time, I used to play basketball. So that was my first goal, was to, play professional basketball. And that didn't work out. So I came back home after college, and I'm like, I got to kind of figure something out. So I took a job with an insurance company, commission-based job, which is relatively easy to get because, most people in commission-based jobs, especially that industry, don't make it. So it's not really hard to get hired. It's just hard to make it.
Yeah.
So, I got hired and studied and took my securities license and my life insurance license, life and health license. And then, I just felt like that was kind of like the easiest route for me to get in, because I didn't study business in college. I didn't go to like an Ivy League school, so I couldn't just go and work on Wall Street. And, working in like a marketing firm, I could have made like, $30,000 a year. That wasn't really appealing to me. So I'm like, what's the best way that I could make some substantial money with, and my degree was a communications degree. So just regular like liberal arts degree from a state university. It's not something that it's really gonna get you too far. So that was kind of how I saw my only entry into the business world.
Okay.
And that was, took it from there.
So when it comes to me personally, how I learned about my whole financial literacy struggle, I think my first lesson, I had my first company when I was 21. And my first real lesson was not paying taxes. And I got liens on everything that I owned, which wasn't much, but it still taught me a very, valuable lesson about profit and loss statements, paying taxes. I know we're always jumping to create like corporations, LLCs, C Corps, S Corps, or what have you. But, a lot of people say, go out there and start an LLC or a corporation, but there's all these responsibilities that also come with it. And so I was young and I got hit that way. And then I think the second time, I think one of my mentors was like, your company's doing very well, but if your company dies tomorrow, you're worth nothing. So you need to build that credit. And the way I did it, I think I bought a Range Rover. Okay, you know what I'm saying? With like a 17% interest rate, because I think my credit was a 0 at the time. And I was very upset about it, because at that point I started learning about it. So I was very irate. But, my mentor at the time was like, just take this one for the team, just to build your credit, and we could refinance it or what have you later. But what was your experiences with financial literacy personally?
Yeah, so mine was early. Like you, especially in my house, it wasn't even talked about. We never talked about money. We didn't talk about my parents. I always say, like, my dad worked for 42 years, but I couldn't tell you what he did. I know he went to work. I know it was in Manhattan. I know it was in an office building. I visited a few times, but I couldn't tell you exactly what he did. And so I had to learn these things. I had to learn from my peers. I had to learn from myself. And so like most people, getting a credit card once you get to school. The first semester, you walk in on the campus, right in the cafeteria, the company, they're looking for their prey, right? Yeah. There's financial prey, there's financial prey. And so like students, we have no money. Some of us don't work, and it's like, wait, I can get $200? And so I had to learn that very early. I would spend it, I would use the 200, they would increase it, I'd use it to 400, up to 1,000, to a point where it was like, wait, what does 29% mean again on it? What's this interest rate? And then learning student loan. A lot of people don't even realize what it is until they get on campus, which is kind of why we had the program, was like, let's teach these kids early so they're prepared for their biggest financial decision at 17, 18 years old. Because nobody told us. I was like, wait, I can't go to school? Oh, sign these papers? Oh, wait, you're going to be my co-signer? I had no idea what all that meant. What is FAFSA? Wait, the more money my parents make, the less I can give?
Yeah.
All right, all these lessons are happening in real time, and we have to make these real decisions, but I'm 18 years old. I'm like, all right, I guess, until you start realizing, wait, the career I'm going after and the loan that I owe, how am I ever going to pay this off? And so those type of lessons happen really early. And then obviously the credit card situation, it was like, okay, this is what interest rates are. Yeah. Right? This is what, like you said, again, taxes. I started working when I was in school. Wait, I can't go away to school. Like, I don't think my parents can afford this. I got to make this decision. I got to stay home. I got to live here. I got to figure out how I'm going to get everywhere. I got to buy a car. Like, wait, I got to get car insurance? All these lessons that no one's telling you about, I was just kind of learning on the fly and like making these decisions. And like some of them were poor, like the credit card one. I think it ran up. It started with a $200 limit. I think I got it up to like 10,000. And by the time I stopped using it, they were like, you owe 29,000. just because the interest kept growing and growing and growing, and I was like, I can't make the payments, I can't make the
Yeah.
payments. And I was like, all right, now what?
I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to credit card use. You handled yours very well compared to my first credit card because you got to the increased limit part. I was taught, like I think most young people are taught, well, credit cards are, use those in case of emergencies. Now that I'm older, I don't believe that. You guys are the assets over liabilities crew, which is my favorite discussion in my household. I talk about it so much with my friends. They probably roll their eyes when I'm on the phone with them and, okay, here she go again. But when it comes to credit card use, okay, assets versus liabilities, what is the best way to handle and look at your credit card?
Yeah, I think you should use it for things that you need, so like gas, groceries, things that's like part of your daily routine, and then try to pay it off in full at the end of the month. That's the best way to really go about it because, using the credit card on a consistent basis is going to help you. It's going to help build your credit score. It's going to help you gain more credit. And it's something that you actually need to build a credit history, credit profile, and credit card is probably the easiest way to do that. So, credit cards aren't bad. It's just a lot of time people use it for things that they don't necessarily need, or they use it and they don't have enough money to pay it back.
Yeah.
So it's like, you want to go to Miami. If you don't have enough money, you just put it on a credit card and just worry about it later. And it's like, okay, the trip costs $2,500 and you're paying like a couple $100s on it every single month. That's when you fall into problems.
Yeah.
So the best way to use a credit card is, pay it off at the end of the month and only use it for things that you actually need. But it is tempting because, especially as your limit increases, you got, tens, thousands of dollars in your pocket that you can really just do whatever you want with. It becomes difficult to have, discipline. So you definitely got to stay focused.
Yeah. I had my older brother, he was the first one I ever seen that made money off credit cards. And I was like, oh, brother, you got to have a mad discipline to make money off a credit card. But yeah, credit cards can be assets or they could be liabilities depending on how you use them quickly, right? When it comes to predatory lending, one of my biggest pet peeves, like nothing irritates, I don't even get road rage. But if I hear an ad on the radio that's like, Susie, I couldn't afford my rent this month. Yeah, we have no money and all our credit cards are maxed out. What do you think we should do? Well, they got fast pay. Call this number. Like literally, my brain cells explode in my brain and I'm just like thoroughly frustrated, like how this is even legally able to be advertised on the radio. And then I also think the problem, Susie and Tom, isn't that you need more money. The problem is your overhead, your whole financial structure is clearly, there's a lot going on there. How do you feel about predatory lending in those scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue, and it's something that, a lot of people aren't even aware of it, like that they're actually getting taken advantage of. Even if you look at like check cashing places, you pay money just to actually get your money, and that's something that when I was working as a counselor and I was a little kid, everybody would just go to the check cashing place. You think about it, but it was like we could have just opened a bank account and deposited the checks and not have to pay any money. But we paying $5 out of a check that's $200, and you're not really thinking about it at the time, but that adds up. And you never see check cashing places in anywhere except for poor and working class neighborhoods. I've never seen a check cashing place in a rich neighborhood. So
well, a lot of times I think too, people go to check cashing places is another lesson I had to learn the hard way. Is check systems. Check systems is when you guys are familiar where you over withdraw your bank account, or if you're lucky like me, there's some body in the neighborhood that's willing to say, go cash this check in your bank account and give me the money. And, check systems, once you end up in check systems, you can't open a bank account. And a lot of people fall prey to check systems because, again, mismanaging money, and they don't have the option to open a bank account again. Then they're relying on predatory lending to move the needle forward.
Yeah. That's why the education piece is so important.
So
like imagine having
critical.
it at 9 years old, 10 years old, understanding that. You know what I mean? Like you're less likely to make those mistakes as you get older. Like you're still gonna make some mistakes, but you're less likely to, right? When you know these things are in place.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important. Like anytime we get to be around youth, we tell them that. Even around our own kids, like I go to the bank, Sometimes my son comes with me. When I'm paying bills, he's with me. If I'm at a restaurant and he's, what's tax? This is a lesson. So teaching them the lessons as early as possible is vitally important because, yeah, it may not seem like they understand it and they don't get it, but they're at least familiar with the terms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I heard about Earn Your Leisure, first of all, I'm a huge entrepreneurship fan, huge financial literacy fan, so you could imagine if I get frustrated over a radio ad, how excited I am about Earn Your Leisure. I was we have all different types of guests, but I was 100% nervous and excited when I was like, oh, they're in town, we got to get them, and then you guys actually gave me some time out of your schedule. But what you guys are doing has a huge ripple effect because I think in the Black community, you know, we talk about having money, having cars, having jewelry, having all these nice things, but nobody wants to talk about how to achieve those things and break it down in a discipline, I say, sense. And you guys are not just reaching youth now. You guys are reaching masses. And so your footprint is like forever going to create a ripple effect. Now, generational wealth is something that I feel like has impacted the Black community. Nobody really talks about. We talk about slavery, we talk about Jim Crow, but we're not talking about generational wealth enough. How do you guys feel about the bank's responsibilities in the lack of generational wealth in the Black community?
It's important to understand our relationship with banks. And one of the things we did with our community is like we read a book called The Color of Money, and it explains about the history of Black Americans in the late 1800s, early 1900s, about how, you know, we used to invest in the bank, and, you know, the bank would invest in the railroad system, and, you know, we lost all our money in the railroad system. So understanding the history before we even get to the present is important. Understanding the mistrust, and so understanding where it came from is important. But, you know, the banks, again, when we look at it, we've been taught to put our money in the bank so we could save money, put our money in the bank, save money, put our money in the bank, save money. What they don't tell us is that when we put our money in the bank actually uses it, right? And so anytime, like, if you ever go to the bank and try to make a withdrawal for anything over $5,000, maybe $10,000, if you have that in your account, they're gonna tell you, oh wait, we need a few days.
Yeah.
We need a few days for us to clear that type of money. And so you never wonder, like, wait, why would they need that if this is the bank? What they're doing is they're lending your money and making interest off your money. And so rather than telling, especially in West Indians, like save, that's one route, but yeah, we should be investing as well, because we're probably gonna make more money in our investments than we are gonna have in an interest that the bank's gonna give us for the money that we saved inside our accounts. And so understanding the mistrust from our history with the bank system, but understanding how we can use money and understand money to make sure that we're taking advantage of it and having it work for us rather than having the bank use it so it can work for them.
Yeah, so, but when it comes to Black people and banks, I personally feel like the banks play a huge role in where we're at as a community. You know, I have neighbors on my block that own homes that were given their homes, right? These are $1 million homes in Los Angeles, just gifted to them. We don't have those same opportunities because banks, you know, wouldn't lend to us. And then you have the issue, and you guys have talked about this too, is that banks, you know, in certain areas, they're saying the house is worth less, or, you know, the appraisal value or what have you. So do you feel a little bit of something towards the bank? I personally think that they should play a role in reparations.
I feel like there's no system that hasn't played a part in that. Like, you know, even what you're talking about with the housing discrimination, and the insurance companies played a part in it as well, because insurance companies wouldn't insure the homes in Black neighborhoods. So that played a part. And then even going back further than that with slavery, like insurance companies, a lot of them, New York Life, a lot of these companies got their start insuring slaves. Wall Street was the first commodity traded on Wall Street was slaves. So that's actually a slave marketplace where Wall Street is right now. So I mean, if you can't name anything. The whole American structure was built on racism. So if racism is a deal breaker, you just got to move outside the country, because I feel like everybody is responsible for the plight of black people in America. Every single industry. There's no industry that has not taken advantage of it, from real estate to banks to insurance companies. I mean, it's been documented. It's not even like a secret. It's not like a conspiracy theory. Like, it's literally, you could just Google it and just find the information. It's right there. And everybody has benefited except for the people that actually, was the ones that got taken advantage of. So I feel like, now we're in a time and place where racism is always going to be there, unfortunately. I just feel like that's just in the fabric of this country. But, it is what it is. We got to, move around it and figure it out to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, and the housing thing, that happened to me personally. So I spoke about that on one of our early episodes, where my home appraised for less than it was bought for, right, where everything around it appraised higher. So like a 10-year span, my house actually devalued in the same neighborhood where other houses appreciated in value.
Yeah.
Right? And so what's the answer to that? Number one, had I known, I mean, it was a time crunch, so I had to get it done in a certain time, but I could afford it and got another appraisal to my liking. The only thing is I didn't have time as an advantage. But nobody told me that I could fight the appraisal, or, you know what I mean, to have somebody do an independent appraisal or use a different bank to have an appraisal. But that's why the education part is vitally important. Or are we educating people that look like us to be appraisers?
Yeah.
Right? A lot of times.
Oh, that's a different way to look at
right?
it.
Because a lot of times the people who are appraising our homes don't look like us.
Or, I mean, I'm one of those people that like break through the window, but like maybe just have your white homegirl be there during the appraisal.
So that was like, I saw that there was a report on that on ABC News where they took down the pictures, they put a white family up in the house appraised. But that's just to show you what he said, right? If racism is going to be a deal breaker, we need to leave. So how do we combat it? Be educated. You know what? I don't agree with this appraisal. Let me go to another institution. Let me get an independent appraisal. Let me fight this appraisal, right? If you have the time and the money to do it, because I know appraisals are like $600-700 each time you do it, but it might be worth it if it's going to put $10,000 to $100,000 of value of equity back in your home. And so knowing that going into the process is important, but also educating people. Like we tell young people, we need more representation. I haven't had an appraisal with somebody that looks like me.
Well,
yet.
So if you and I were about to play a game, right? And I historically cheat for years, okay? I feel as black people as a culture, we either say, okay, we know Johnny's gonna steal from us, and that your response is like, you know what, prepare for the stealing, prepare, have your backups and your backups and your backups. After the pandemic, one of the things that hit me, or I was shocked by when it came to pandemic, and I'm not I wouldn't say I'm like smart education, like college student wise, I'm a college dropout, but one of the things that I was shocked with was the bailouts. I was like, oh shit, I always tell my friends, I'm like, reparations gonna happen. I promise it's gonna happen. One day it's gonna happen. When the bailouts happened, I said, oh shit, it's possible. Do you think it's possible?
Yeah, it's always possible. I mean, they're giving billions of dollars of aid to every country all over the world. You just name a country, $1 billion here, $5 billion here, $10 billion here. So, of course, they print money whenever they want.
But why do you think black people still haven't received it?
Because I feel like there's no real need for them to do it. There's no pressure. Like, there's no pressure on it. It's not gonna make or break the situation if they don't do it. Like, it's not something that is really like a political thorn to them. It's just a noise in their ear. They don't really have any real pressure. Politicians only respect pressure.
So when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement, we saw a lot of pressure from brands stepping up, either supporting black business, spending more money with black business. Even DeTavio from Revolt said that the spend for advertising on black networks increased. That pressure was created from the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter. What kind of pressure do you think we can realistically do to apply that to the rest of the world to get reparations?
I mean, it comes down to unity. We have a united front. That's the first thing. And then, you have to have a real political agenda where it's like, it's something that economics is extremely important. So it's like, you put money behind a politician, and that politician is kind of like indebted to you. That's how politics really work. And you have to be able to, withhold your vote or vote for other parties. Like, black people only vote for the Democratic Party. So if 94% of the people is voting for the party, no matter what they do, you're still gonna vote for them. So it's not really a pressure Whereas like you used to take like the Jewish community, they might be split 50-50. They got people that'll vote for the Republicans, they got people that'll vote for the Democrats. Whatever the agenda is, whatever they want, it's not blinded on just one particular party. I think that's very dangerous when you just put all your eggs in one basket. So you got to spread and you got to diversify in politics, and you got to actually have unity, and you got to have something that you can actually withhold, where it's like, okay, if you're not going to do this for us, this is what we're not going to do for you. So economics is always a good thing. If you don't have economics, then you withhold the vote or you vote for somebody else's. I don't have all the answers, but that's something that until then, it's like you're not really in a point of negotiating. You can only negotiate if you have some level of strength.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just kind of like begging and asking for things.
Yeah, I think having aligned and uniform, these are our wants and our needs, right? Like, it has to be uniform, like you said. Like, we can't, like, I want this. Nah, unified front, this is our wants and our needs, and we're going to withhold from that if we don't get these things. And being educated in the space, right? Like, if people aren't informed about politicians and elections and who they're voting for, they'll just vote for anybody. Oh, I'm supposed to vote, so I'm vote today. You have no idea of their agenda, what they have planned for your community, even on a local level, right? People aren't paying attention, and so they're not educating themselves in those areas. And so it's like, okay, how can we get anything done when you don't even know who you're voting for? And so it starts there, but it has to be uniform. Even like the Black Lives Matter situation, and companies stepping up for black businesses, right? It was a reaction to something that happened. It wasn't like we're doing this because you said these are your wants and needs. It was like, okay, that was horrific. How can we answer that?
Well, it wasn't just that it was horrific. It was like the whole world had to come to a stop. There had to be no sports, no distractions.
But it was already stopped, so everybody saw it. And that, it wasn't enough that there was protests here in the United States. It became a protest that was around the world, right? So that changed things. But even that, it was like, companies are saying they're going to do it, but we have to figure out, well, have they done it? Have they supported? Where is the documentation that, what, if you said that you were going to put $100 billion towards black businesses, have you done it? Where are the businesses, right? And I saw this clip earlier. It was interesting. It was like, people keep talking about support black businesses. No, it's bigger than support black businesses, right? Buy in black businesses, bigger than support, purchase and help them, fund them. Right, you know what I mean? Because if we don't, then we won't have our businesses, and then we can't come with an economic front, and we can't have lobbyists, and we can't have politicians to say, all right, this is what, if you don't do these things, we're not voting. That's how change happens.
So we're coming to an end of this interview that I never want to end.
No.
And we got to do taste tests. So Rashad and Troy,
which half can I have?
I'm just gonna take this half off your plate.
I'm going with that half. Which one?
There we go.
He cut this one a lot better than that one.
Oh,
so I'm
okay.
gonna go with this. This is neat.
Okay. So who are we gonna try first?
Let's try his.
Okay, so we're gonna go with Rashad's first. So we got the tuna sandwich with the mayo, ketchup, and potato chips, everybody, on wheat bread. Here we go.
Toasted wheat bread.
Toasted wheat bread.
Very important.
Elite level. That's elite level. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That's actually elite.
I love how he's advertising how good his sandwich is.
Not bad.
It's actually not bad.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I think the chips is what really set
Yeah,
it off.
I'm trying to get a bigger piece of chip right here on this second bite.
And you know what? I would have never thought ketchup on tuna.
That's what I'm saying.
But
Nobody ever thinks of it.
I'm not gonna lie. I do think this is pretty damn good.
I'm telling you.
I think the chips, I don't know, and it could be the toasted bread.
This is gonna be the first one in the cookbook.
You know what?
Elite level.
I may eat this in the middle of the night. That one's good.
Bring back memory.
I've got to clear my palate.
I will say that the only difference I would do is maybe mixing the tuna and the Thousand Island, only because it's a little dry.
Well, you know what? We used to, but I couldn't think of it, but I used to get this tuna. It was like an oil-based tuna, but I forgot the name of it. So that's why I was sending him the picture. I was trying to Google the name of it, but so that made the tuna a lot more moist.
Okay.
And now that was my secret sauce in the whole situation.
So I think a lot of the listeners know by now that I do shop. I did see your picture of the tuna with the oil.
Oh, you see, I said
but
that.
I didn't know if you were just saying get this brand tuna, but I
No.
could not find that brand with the oil. And I was
Okay.
like, I'm pretty sure this oil means something.
Yeah, the oil.
But I was
oil.
like, brand or oil? And I chose brand, but
Yeah, the
so
oil.
I will give you a pass. Okay, I'll give
yeah.
you a pass.
The oil's important because it adds a whole different flavor to it.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go. I took a swig of water.
Palate has been cleared.
Now it's Troy's pizza bagel. Here we go.
My bread's too soft.
I love how Rashad is semi-hating over here. He's like, Okay. Troy, which one do you think is better?
I like that his bread was toasted. This bread is pretty soft on my bagel. I need a little more.
Blame it on the bread.
I need a little crunchier. I need it a little crunchier.
Okay.
Tell me about the flavor.
Flavor-wise, great. I think if I hadn't talked so much, we would have had more of the melty cheese versus the, I was kind of looking forward to this whole melted cheese moment. Flavor-wise, it's great. Would I eat again? Hell yeah. I've chased the garlic, the oregano, the basil. It feels like a real pizza.
Imagine I put this on hardo bread. That should have been a Jamaican part. I should have used the hardo bread.
I think both are good. Which one what do you think?
Well, I'm partial to the tuna, and I'm actually handicapped in the situation because I didn't get the right ingredients. I had the oil, but that just brings back so many memories for me. And this is good. It tastes like school lunch. Like school lunch.
He's taking shots.
No,
No,
see this?
no,
I
So
hate school lunch.
I'm gonna end the debates for everyone listening. I ain't gonna lie. I preconceived thought the tuna was absolutely going to suck. Okay, looking at it, it looked like it was going to suck. Now Troy's looked like it was gonna be amazing and he was gonna stomp all over the tuna. But Troy, don't kill me.
No, it's okay. It's
But
okay.
the tuna actually beat it.
I just lost my tuna bagel.
There you have it.
I want to apologize to Miss Granda, our home ec teacher. I'm not sure if she's even still with us. If she is still with us,
There you have it, ladies and
3
gentlemen.
years of cooking.
Keep your expectations low in life. That's the key to success.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy because the pizza bagel's really good, but it could be the sheer shock that the tuna sandwich was going to be trash.
Perhaps.
Didn't you think the tuna sandwich was going to be trash?
I love tuna, so.
But when you saw the ketchup, you
I
admit.
hate those two things. I don't even think I got ketchup in my bites, so I'm okay with that because I
You
would.
had to have
It-
ketchup in it.
No, I didn't have it
It
in my
tastes
bite.
absolutely amazing with the ketchup and the
Yeah.
chips.
Telling you,
This
that
ketchup here, it
and
made
that
it.
just comes from years of just trying different things.
But-
Life's about taking risks.
Yeah.
Look at he's over here. He acting like he got a belt over this tuna sandwich. So to close out, I did want to talk about a bunch more stuff, but to close out, I really want to challenge you guys and put you on the spot. You cannot walk away from this interview without answering this question.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
If we had to choose a spokesperson, this goes back to representation, putting pressure. Who from our culture would you choose to represent us?
I think that's part of the problem
I
with,
think we're gonna
with
answer the
black
same.
people is that we have a messiah complex. Like we've always been, we've been spoiled with leadership, as my guy 19 Keys says. It's like when you think about black people, you think about strong leadership from Malcolm X to Marcus Garvey to Muhammad Ali to Malcolm X.
Martin Luther.
I think I said Malcolm.
You said Malcolm
King.
twice.
Yeah, so it's like we've always had leadership. But the problem with relying on the leader is that it's too easy to kill, literally and figuratively kill one person. And then when you cut the head off, then the whole body, falls apart. But when you think about like the Asian community, can you name like 20 leaders? Or can you name 5
Well-
leaders in the last 100 years in the Asian community?
No, but to play devil's advocate, I totally disagree. Hate to go into debate on this because those men that you named were able to move the needle forward, and not only were they able to move the needle forward, those guys. The question is who would you choose as a spokesperson?
Yeah, I think even that is kind of tricky because a spokesperson comes with responsibilities, leadership, and it comes with hate too. People like to just, tear somebody down when they reach that point. I feel like we all should be leaders. And I feel like, leadership starts at the household and self-responsibility of not relying, like me, I'm not really into politics too much because I don't like to rely on government or anybody. I feel like I have to rely on myself. And I feel like, self-responsibility and self-accountability is extremely important. Self-accountability and self-responsibility is more important than leadership, more important than a spokesperson.
But as an entrepreneur, I am one of those believers that there's no one on my team that is more important than the next. Whether the person's mopping the floor, taking the pictures, editing, or whoever, including me, they are not, and no one's least. But I do know that my team won't run efficiently if there isn't a leader. If I have too many leaders, too many chiefs, and not enough Indians, our whole operation runs to shit. There's no growth.
No, I'm not saying that I'm opposed to leadership because I think that of course, it's human nature that you always have to have some level of leadership. I just think the focus shouldn't be on leadership. I think we focus too much on leadership, like who's the next leader, who's the next black leader, who's going to be the spokesperson. That'll just come organically from people that'll just rise. The cream will always rise to the top. But that shouldn't be the focus. The focus should be, how can we save our households? How can we build stronger families? How can we support black businesses? How can we have group economics? How can we educate ourselves? How can we, these are things, how can we become more healthier? Even eating food, like, these are things like diabetes and stuff that runs in our communities rampant. So I feel like the leadership is not a bad thing, but I think we focus too much on that.
Yeah. It goes back, like, even in the school system, right? My model was always like, I was a phys ed teacher, right? And so I always tell people about the expectations. What do you expect a phys ed teacher? What do you expect from them, right? They could be the coach, athletic director. My model was just like, lead from where you are. Like, lead from right where you are. Because what he's saying, there's a lot of truth to it, right? When we see people rise to the top, and Barack Obama is a perfect example of that. We saw how he was treated, how they tried to, throw dirt on the position because who he was. And what it does to a younger generation is they almost look at it like, why would I want to be that? Why would I want to aspire to be that if that comes with it? Not saying that it's not obviously a very, very important job. It comes with a lot of responsibilities. It's like, if that's going to happen when I get there, why would I want to be there? This message is so important because it's like, who is the leader of, especially in our space, who's the leader of financial literacy? You don't know who the leader is. What's more important is the education that they're getting, right? So if any day that we stop doing Earn Your Leisure, right, you've gotten so much information that you can now lead your community. She's got so much information that she can lead her community, and so does he. And so you don't really have a leader. You built a community of leaders that can actually execute on information and pass it on to the next generation. Because what the men and women that he mentioned, they are vitally important to the black excellence that we're allowed to continue, right? But when they died, was their mission continued to the way they saw it? We don't know. All we know is what they laid out for us and what we need to add to it to continue in the excellence that was bestowed before us. So it was like, all right, let's just keep doing what we're doing, lead from where we are, and in turn, everybody around us will get the information, and if there's no us, the information and education will always live on.
Okay. Well, you guys put me in a position. I definitely disagree.
Okay.
But I only disagree, and I have nothing but love for you guys, because you guys play such a pivotal role in our community, culture-wise, black, white, brown, it doesn't really matter, because you're talking financial literacy and we all need help, and you're talking education, we all need that guidance. When I think about reparations, MLK is like, I have a couple people that I think are my favorite people on the planet. It's like Jesus, John the Baptist, Martin Luther King is like, if you was at like who you could have supper with, like just put these three people, I'm cool, I feel like all three would accept me pretty fine,
Yeah.
But I still think that a spokesperson is needed, someone that could speak both languages. And I'm going to throw out my spokesperson.
Who is it?
Okay? Wouldn't you want to know? Don't you want to know who it is?
Well, how about, can I ask you this? So if we're talking about MLK and his vision, his dream for economic empowerment, is it being fulfilled in this present day?
Yes and no.
Right?
Yes and no. And only no because,
Well, let me ask you this. What's more beneficial? One powerful spokesperson or 35 billionaires?
It doesn't have to be either. It doesn't have to be either or. Like, one doesn't negate the other. Like I said, when I said the whole thing about a team, like, my team is equal to me. There will always be equal to me. If anything happened to my team members, I'll be talking about it all day. I'll be crying about it, whatever. But it doesn't negate. You understand? Like, one doesn't negate the other. But there is a need for a role.
What group do you feel like is successful, and like what ethnic group do you feel like is a successful example that somebody can follow in America?
Well, that has a clear leader.
No. It's two different questions.
I'm gonna just say the thing you're not supposed to say. I think white people they did an example.
But white people, that's a broad term. So like I'm saying like a ethnic. I hate the word, but like minority. What ethnic minority would you say? This is people that can be duplicated. Like, this is something as an example to try to duplicate, or they've done well, and this is something that we can try to take some different parts of what they've done.
By example of spokesperson?
No,
okay.
Like a group.
Like a group, I think black people are the motherfucking MVPs. Like, I think we're the MVPs. Like, we're so resilient. We've broken barrier after barrier. I will say black people is the second.
Nah, I appreciate that. But I'm just saying, from my standpoint, I look at it like, all right, we know that Asians probably make the most amount, and that's kind of a broad term, but like, let's say like the Asian community, let's say the Indian community, let's say the Jewish community, let's say the Mexican community. Let's use all of these different communities, right? Who's a leader in any one of those communities?
Who's a leader?
Like, name one person that's like, this is the leader of the Jewish community, this is the leader of the Chinese community, this is the leader of the Filipino community, this is the leader of, because all of them are light years ahead of us economically.
But they're only there because they didn't have the hurdles.
But I understand that. But look, my whole thing is this. You're trying to ask for help for people that hurt you. That's a dysfunctional relationship. It's like being in a relationship with somebody who is abusive to you, and after 400 years, you're thinking, this is going to be the year that they change. It's not going to happen. You got to accept them like this not.
I don't think racism is going to go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's never going to happen.
But I think a game is still meant to be played, is always meant to play to win or lose. But I think there is a place where you can play fairly. Like, you can say no more rigging the game.
But what I'm saying is that's not how, life doesn't work based off of fairness. Life based off of strength and power. So what I'm saying is that we're trying to play a fair game. It's not going to be fair. We're going to have this conversation 100 years from now. So how do we work together, group economics, grow, have enough money where now we can tilt the scales ourselves? It doesn't have to be one person. But now if you got a group of people, this guy's worth $2 billion, he's worth $4 billion, and then we all work together collectively, now we can put pressure, economic pressure, on the situation. Now that changes the dynamic, as opposed to having one eloquent speaker. Because like I said, we've had great speakers, we've had great leadership. It hasn't really helped though.
I agree to a certain degree. I think to a certain degree.
Yeah. No, because if you have that one person, like I said, and we've seen those leaders, pretty much everybody that he's named, been killed, right? Now who's next? Because there's dysfunction amongst the ranks. Like, I should be the next person, or you should be the next person, and then it'll be the same thing. That's why if you spread it out, like, you're going to be great at this, like you'll lead in that career. So if we all come together with that form of leadership, and everybody leads and takes self-accountability, like you said, and responsibility, if everybody leads from where they are, now you have a united front. That's different.
Yeah, I mean, we still have a president in a free country. So I think leadership is, you still need a spokesperson. But I mean, we could agree to disagree.
Yeah, you have leadership for sure. It's
I'm
important.
gonna tell
we
you
got one right here.
No, I think, see, the thing about Earn Your Leisure and organizations like you and foundations like you and universities like you and podcasts like you and events that everything that you're doing, you're representing leadership in our community that, like I said, the ripple effect is never ending. I can't be more appreciative for what you guys do for
Appreciate you.
just anybody that has access to you. I think is just forever should be grateful for you guys. I'm gonna name a spokesperson.
All right, let's do it. Who is it?
So you want to know who my spokesperson will be?
Y'all know? You don't know.
No. I'm gonna throw it back to my favorite artist of all time.
Kanye West?
Definitely not Kanye, but I do love Kanye. Don't think I don't.
Who's your favorite
like,
artist of all time? This is good.
This interview's going the other way.
Yeah. Who is it?
It's Jay-Z, all day.
Jay-Z.
But I
Okay.
like Jay for a multitude of reasons. He speaks both languages. The way his perspective is, he can be in the room with the whites, the blacks, the Puerto Ricans, whoever. I think he speaks both languages, and his perspective depth is there. And I feel like he uses his power to bridge the gap, bridge the hatred, even what he did with the NFL and all that. So if I had to choose someone that, like, within range, it doesn't sound like your typical prospect, but I would say I would choose him.
I mean, yeah, Jay-Z, definitely, he's an important person. He's not really an outspoken person, though. He does most of his stuff behind the scenes. He's more of an introverted.
Like that.
So I don't know if he would be a good spokesperson because he only likes to speak.
But a spokesperson could be the person that does the deal. Like, I don't traditionally like being the face of my brand. This is the first time I ever said I want to be the face of my brand. But whether you make power plays or not, like, I feel like he has the power. Like, we collectively as a community are making moves. We're everybody in their own community. There's always somebody that's trying to impact and move the needle forward. And that's why we've been able to get as far as we have been. But when I think a spokesperson, I think Jay could handle it. And it's not just because, he's my favorite artist of all time.
Partly.
It's partly, but
Yeah.
but truth be told, I feel like I've watched the way he moved, and there's been plenty of times, not only even with his records, where I've been like, huh, and then later been like, oh, I see.
Shout out to
Oh,
Jay.
yeah, shout out. That's one of my favorite artists as well.
Jay.
So, but obviously, I'm not going to get a spokesperson out of you guys. I tried really hard. But thank you so much for coming out, feeding me, and feeding the team.
Yeah,
I
shout out to
enjoyed the
y'all.
tuna sandwich and the bagel pizza, and now I officially know how to make pizza. Thank you guys. Thank you
I
for giving
appreciate
us
you
the
for having
time.
us.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Peace.